My name is Michael Broderick. Most people know me in town since I've lived here most of my life. And I have, a matter of fact, I think I've lived here and been a resident longer than everybody on this board, as well as everyone at TPZ, which I was a member of. I'm going to speak off the, just from my observations, and I'm going to start with this. I think this is, even this hearing tonight is a disgrace, because when did you have it? When everyone is away. That is just what the TPZ has been doing, and now you're doing the same things. This is not, normally we have a lot of people here to discuss this because people in town care about our town. So even that you did this is so wrong. And you should be ashamed of yourself because it's anti-democratic. It's not what Woodbridge should be about. That's my first comment. As a former member of Planning and Zoning, I actually wrote with two other people in my kitchen the Plan of Conservation and Development after lots of public input, that hadn't been done for 30 years. Why was that document so popular compared to this piece of trash that you are presenting to the town? It's because we cared about the entire town, the character of the town, the effects of the document on the town, and you don't seem to do it. This group, going back to Skeletor, and you, and have really gaslighted this town, just like Trump gaslights our country every day. And you should be ashamed of that fact because you don't present accurate information to the public. You distort things. I read your newsletter, Mika. It's ridiculous. And then when you start looking at this document and looking at the specifics of it, the overlay zones, no one here has, I think, discussed how that would change the character that I moved to this town for, the beautiful rural look. That allows, right now, if that stays in this document, those overlay zones allow apartment buildings of 4 stories to be built up Amity Road, up Center Road, up Beecher Road, up Ansonia Road, all over our town in residential A. Did people ask you for that? I don't think so. People are horrified. If you just look at the opposition to the one building on Fountain Street, that should tell you what people think. Can you imagine that built on the farm across from Fitzgerald? And you can also see all the problems. Is this document for the developers or is it for the townspeople? You're supposed to be representing us. In my view, you're representing developers, not townspeople, and so is the TPZ. You've appointed a TPZ that is so misguided, as has already been stated. You have a guy that is aligned with the group suing the town, the chairman, Clee. He's aligned with the group. And his goals.
Dr. Broderick,
that is absolutely true.
We've been there, we've discussed that. That's gone through all of the generations. That's just not a true statement.
Well, whatever.
That's just not a true statement.
He doesn't represent. I went to multiple of the sessions, and I saw, like, for instance, where our town planner, which has now been fired, which they should have been because they were worthless. You wasted $90,000 of our tax dollars. And I mean, they gave us such wonderful information that the 96-unit apartment building would yield 4 children based on Rutgers information. I mean, absurdity. And this is what your document is going to allow all over the town. These are your people. You put them there. And the affordable housing zone, we already know, if anyone has studied, I studied, land use, urban development. You don't put all your affordable housing in one building. Our zoning commission, when they built the Toll Brothers property right next to my office, why didn't they ask the Toll Brothers to have 4 affordable units out of the 70? No one did that. And, so they think they can impose on the whole town a whole different reality that nobody wants, and you obviously don't mind it either, because you keep telling us we need to develop the Woodbridge Country Club, which will cost us much more money, because everyone also knows the simple fact that if you develop land, not only is it lost forever, as the Conservation Commission was talking about, but you also yield more services needed, even if it's a senior facility. So that's inappropriate. It doesn't generate taxes, it loses money. That is a documented fact. You can read about it.
I'd like to see your documentation on that.
I will provide it. I'd be glad to.
I appreciate it.
And the other thing is, if we have these overlay zones and apartment buildings all over our town, look at how that's going to, we're already one of the highest taxed suburban towns in Connecticut, maybe the highest tax. And that would blow up our school system. That will have us have to build an addition to Beecher School. And when I talk to my clients, a cross-section of our town, people are astonished, and they don't like that you are misrepresenting what is going on in this town. They don't like it at all. And I tell people, I'm a liberal Democrat. I've never voted for a Republican nationally. I tell people they have to get rid of this Democratic board because they're ruining our town. Absolutely ruining it in every way. Overspending, don't understand about austerity in a small residential town, have a ridiculous zoning commission that is not representing the interest, representing just developers. This is what you have yielded. And I'm actually tired of it. Over and over and over, the town residents have to come. Instead of having you as our representatives defending our tax dollars, our beautiful town, trying to change it to something we don't want, it's just awful. And all you have to do, if you want to look at like good affordable housing programs, look at some of the other suburban towns comparable. I was reading about Guilford. Guilford is integrating, and again, they don't build like giant apartment buildings, 4-story apartment buildings in the middle of their residential zones. They integrate, and that's what we should be doing. That's the modern way of doing affordable housing. You put a few units over this storefront, etc. And you don't have massive development that's out of the character of the town. Guilford is doing a program that is conservation-minded, small, fits in. You know, people ask me, like, why when you built your office building across from people's homes, was it so accepted? Well, it was really easy because I actually care about the town. So when I designed my building, I made it fit into the neighborhood. There's an arts and craft bungalow across from my building. I made my building fit into that neighborhood. People think it's like a big house. And that's how we should always be approaching development in this town. These people and your developer that you hired are so inappropriate.
We didn't hire a developer.
Well, you hired the planner that represents a lot of developers. That planner was just monstrously awful.
He doesn't represent developers.
Well,
so.
They represent not the interests of people in Woodbridge, because I was at the hearing. Not one person spoke on behalf of changing to allow overlay zones and to rescind the zoning changes. Not one spoke in favor of keeping them what they had done. And yet, they still voted against that, reversing it.
I appreciate your comments, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Don't try to shut me up, Mika.
No, I'm asking you to be cognizant of the time.
I am, and my last statement is that if we're going to get sanity back in this town, we need to replace you and the rest of the Democrats that have made these horrible decisions, putting horrible people on the zoning committee.
Appreciate